For anybody just listening, other than this tiny little segment from a Lana Wachowski interview, there's nothing else to see here. Uh, I'd like to show you a few more things I can't. This is what Lana mentioned, Keanu said about the movie.
Like casual brilliance just sort of rolls off of Keanu. And he was just like sitting there and he goes, 20 years ago, you told this story in which you described the coming 20 years and the problems of the nature of digital virtual life and how it was going to impact us and what it was, how we could think about it, and gave us a frame to be able to think about it and talk about it. And you took the same character and the same stories and the same stuff, and somehow you made it about the next 20 years.
Hey guys, it's Matt. Very little of this is going to be about the movie. It's mostly about the the statement of what the movie says about reality. This movie, in my opinion, is not just a fun movie by Lily and Lana Wachowski. It is their baby. It is the cornerstone of, in my opinion, what they're actually trying to do to reality. Not not quite at the pod stage yet, but it makes that sort of a statement. And the creepy quote, we could do a whole video about the creepy quote from Lana Wachowski. For those very interested, Lily Wachowski did not participate in making the movie. She was very tired, apparently stressed. It was just Lana Wachowski. For those very interested in that fun fact, and just let's just do 1 minute about, if people are very interested in the movie, what you need to know about these two websites, and then move away from the movie as soon as possible. Just so you know, for those that haven't seen the trailer, whatisthematrix.com. Whatisthematrix.com is the trailer. Of course, you can find the trailer in other places in YouTube. But this website, the choice is yours. Whatisthematrix.com. It's just a fun promotional thing. It's fun to go through it. You pick the red pill or you pick the blue pill. It tells you the voice of Morpheus comes on if you pick the red pill. The voice of Neil Patrick Harris comes on if you pick the blue pill. It tells you exactly what time it is as you're watching it, and then it shows a few clips. It's just a fun little thing for those interested, but it's hard to find. The only way to find this website now is to go to Google and type in the Matrix, the choice is yours, like pick red pill. Just in the regular Google box, the choice is yours, pick red pill, and you'll see the choice is yours website come up. I couldn't get to this website you're looking at now where you pick the red or the blue any other way. And there's not a whole lot there, just a fun 45-second promotion depending on which pill you pick, but it might be interesting. It's interesting, and those people might want to check it out. That's all on the movie. Well, I'm going to tie the movie in a bit. But the quote from Lana, the quote, I'm sorry, I have to laugh. The quote, I got to be serious about this. The quote, because this is a serious topic, but when I say the quote from the Wachowski, I don't know what to say. To me, they were the Wachowski brothers. I don't know what to say. But the quote from Lana, we'll just keep it current. First off, after I'm just going to keep it, guys, exactly what as the news would present it, Lana, she, etc. When she's finished, the audience, the reaction from the audience, you can only hear it for about not even a second, three-quarters of a second, but it's when Lana says, and this movie is going to, Keanu said, is going to show you what the next 20 years is going to look like. With Keanu saying, the first movie showed you what the first 20 years from 1999 through now will look like. And there's not laughter in the audience. You can only hear it, and I wish I could extend it more, but the clip I captured, that's all there was, about a half second. There's like a deflation in the audience. Now, the audience, they're not people like us, people like me, people like you. They're not like us. They're completely blue pilled for the most part. But even the audience gets a sense like, oh, the kind of like there's like a sigh, like a doom, like yeah, I don't know if you can hear it, but I picked up on it. I guess there's no reason to go back and try to listen to that. I think people deep down inside, any real person inside their subconscious, unconscious, knows what's going on. Basically, like all we've done is bring that up through into our conscious mind, into our frontal lobes, for example. So I think most people that are real, and I say that because I don't know who exactly who's real. There could be NPC types here or different types of incarnations. But people that are real, I think their subconscious and unconscious minds are much thousand times more powerful than the thinking part of the brain that speaks in English and tries to comprehend TV shows. That part people might know or might know what's basically going on to a degree. They haven't put in the research, and maybe that's why that sigh came out. So I've talked with people a lot recently, going back and forth, where it keeps, this is what I thought initially about people like my Tony, for example. He doesn't want to know anything that I have to present. And I always, now I see it kind of like a first grade answer that I came up with 3 years ago, but it might be a hybrid of both. So 3 years ago, I said, well, that's just him trying to protect himself. That's cognitive dissonance comes on from people trying to protect themselves, trying to protect their worldview. They don't want to hear the harsh and cold reality that we know. And as time went on, it became my theories became more about the download, in that it's not just that they just want to protect their worldview, but now it's somewhere in the middle, I believe, because I believe their unconscious mind, the subconscious and unconscious mind, does understand that the world is not as it's presented. But it's almost like in real people, the goal of the download is to kind of make sure the conscious mind, or the part of the brain that speaks in English, in the contrived, planned, calculated spellcraft of English, that part of the mind never gets the message basically from the subconscious and or unconscious mind that something rather sinister is going on here. So could that be the purpose of the download, to block the message from the subconscious, or basically you could say to block inner knowing? Could that be the purpose of the download? So I'm kind of in the middle on this. In real people, an incarnation here that's as real as you and I believe they do sense deep down, and there is more a blocking of it or more of a cognitive dissonance. But I don't think everybody here is the same. And for others, whoever or whatever they may be, it's not, people just want to protect their worldview and they just suppress it. The other anybody that's not as real as you and me, whatever that means, it's just purely the download. They believe in every bit of what Anderson Cooper presents. They believe every bit of what a quote good government is trying to do for you. And even though they can admit and do a bullet point list of all the ways they've been screwed, they just can't put. They'll still believe that everybody's, politicians just do the best they can. Sometimes they walk down the path of corruption. They'll just spout the official narrative rhetoric, and that is more of a download situation. So it's not all or none. It's kind of a hybrid in the middle, if you see what I'm saying. Just to summarize it, there are people out there that are as real as you and I, that are connected to their spiritual selves, still very connected, but they still are operating, in my opinion, there's some sort of download where whatever their subconscious mind senses about the world is blocked, kind of like the carrier wave they get from the download blocks their inner knowing, if I've described that correctly. Let's go back to the creepy quote from Lana. Wachowski. Wachowski, tomato, tomato. I don't know. Who cares? Um, Now, I wasn't aware. Levette was the first person to talk about how they operate in 20-year cycles per the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction. My knowledge of astrology is still very, very low and limited. But so I've heard others talk about, I mean, of course, the 20-year conjunction that we recently went through, where apparently now Saturn's apparently in control. I don't see, I don't see no difference. Jupiter was Empire building was in control. What's the? I don't know. Look out your window. I don't. Where's the difference? I don't see no difference. But anyway, others have talked. Of course, it's one of the biggest thing in all of astrology. So it's not just from Levet, of course, but that's the first person that explained it to me and to many of us. But it does absolutely seem, we've noticed this in the past year, how they operate on the 20-year cycles. And not that we needed confirmation from Lana, but she just said it. I mean, she just said it. Well, Matt, she presented what Keanu said. Well, you really think Keanu said anything intelligent? Really? I don't think so either. I think most things are a presentation. This information had to come out in a certain way, and of course, it will be attributed to the casual genius of Keanu Reeves, and he said it. So that again, for those that don't know, again, that they're every 20 years the flip, they do a conjunction, flip the power cycle, Saturn, Jupiter. Astrologists like Levet will say that Mercury, the primary planets of the creeps, is Mercury and Jupiter, empire building, not Saturn, which many attribute to Satan, but that's a false attribution according to Levet. But this is I don't I'm not even qualified to get this into an astrology discussion. Just explaining what people put forth. But if you look at the 7-Eleven job application, it is almost exactly that 20-year Saturn Jupiter cycle conjunction, how that all the power came forth and they put all their chips. If they had chips at Caesar's palace at the roulette table, they pushed all of them onto one number, and you know the number. That number could potentially be the first day of the new millennium, where people say the millennium starts at 1, not at 2000. Everything they've told us about the calendar is false. Levet even says that even the astrology they present is off by 20 some degrees. So she told me, she said, you're not even you thought your whole life you're a Virgo, you're a Leo. She told me. I believe her. But so why would I think the system would present anything of importance legitimately? Of course it doesn't. So they pushed all their chips onto that number on the roulette table back at that day in 2001. In fact, they probably looked behind them and said, "Can I borrow any money?" The roulette wheel's spinning, the ball's going around. They looked around. They borrowed. They leveraged up. They borrowed from little old ladies standing around them, and then they pushed even more chips before the ball fell on that number at the roulette table. So, and then of course, well, heck, the power cycle that whatever they cycled through must have been pretty powerful on that day. But then you saw how it waned. It waned, right? They tried to keep the T-ism story going as long as possible and to scare you with Tom Ridge's. It's a code yellow day for those that are. Should I say this? Let's just pick another date. For those underage 31, let's pick a different age. They don't, yeah, this is more appropriate. They don't remember Tom Ridge's color code. Oh, honey, we shouldn't go to New York City today. Tom Ridge it says it's code orange or code red or code. They never went to code red, I guess. That'd be another Osama. It was always code yellow, or you never was in the clear. For the 10 years they had the damn color code. It wasn't like, hey, look, it's a green, honey. We can go anywhere without worrying about anything getting blowed up today. It was never that. I always want to keep you a little scared. So um, they want to keep whatever the magic trick is initially, they try to hold on to it and keep it fresh in the minds of real people, real quantum reality creators. But they can't do the gig as well. Of course, they can never, again, they pushed all their chips onto that number. And they can't place a bet of that size, it seems, for quite a long time. 20 years later, heck, what we're in now. So they do bullshit. Remember, was his name Richard Reed? Was he the underwear bomber or the shoe bomber? I think he was the shoe bomber. I mean, you could insert him into the movie Radio or any of these movies, and he would have just, it would have been the same. You wouldn't have missed Cuba Gooding Jr. at all. And then we had that other genius, the edible underwear bomber. So they do these, and then of course, remember there was that train incident in Europe where, oh, it was a U.S. military on vacation or something, or just retired, that they foiled the plot on a train, and sure they did. Yeah. Yeah, that happened. Yeah. Yeah, that happened. Yeah. It's all, it's all, this plot was foiled, that plot was foiled. Where of course there's copycats, that it's not like the FBI did nothing. I mean, there's copycats and little, but in terms of the big stuff, any major big presentation through the screen nowadays is bullcrap. I mean, any major screen presentation. There's something going on now, um, that's been covered by a few other channels. A girl or something was lost out west, or then now I don't follow it at all. I mean, I hear bits and pieces. Pam is on Facebook all the time, and she'll say, "Did you hear about this?" And now maybe they found the body. I don't know. And I basically just, I heard, my man B and some other people cover it, and I just turned to Pam and said, I don't need to look at it. Whenever a presentation is that massive through social media, it's not legitimate, and I'm sticking to that. Um, I just don't buy it. So anyway, so Lana comes forth and says Keanu, in his genius, kind of showed what the world would look like for the next 20 years. And somebody might, we struggle with, well, how's that? I mean, what does that statement mean? The first Matrix did that, and now the second Matrix is going to show what the next 20 years are going to look like. That's even creepier depending on what's in the next Matrix. But it doesn't necessarily mean pod people. It means, well, I'll tell you what I think it means. I have a strange theory, but um, it's basically playing out in front of our eyes, my strange theory. It's not so strange anymore, so I guess that's why I'll present it. Now, if there's anything right about this theory, it seems very, very dark. But you know what? It's actually, I really believe it's actually good news, or it can be something this dark can be spun into really good news. I'm going to try, but I better bring the good news first, or as soon as I describe what I'm talking about here, because it just seems so dark. You're like, well, how could that ever be good? Um, Basically, it seems like they're trying to create the Matrix as time goes forward. So I don't ever believe the world was completely real. I believe it's initially designed to be some sort of a natural simulation, not like a computer code Elon Musk simulation. So nothing, generally either way, a rock isn't very real in my opinion, but it's like they're trying to turn the original base reality over time into the Matrix. And we get the sense that, or people believe that, well, that happens all at once. In what's that Netflix series or something? Is it called Upload or Download? The young guy's about to die. Here, sign this, and we can upload your consciousness into a computer. All that Ray Kurzweil creepy stuff, and then boom, it just happens all at once. All of a sudden, it's a real world, and then consciousness is in a computer in a matrix. And maybe this is why the frauds like Ray Kurzweil go around making the same speech over and over again. So it's almost like, well, you'll know it when it happens, or you'll go into the computer. Maybe it's something, and I've floated this before, but I'll talk about a little more detail here. To me, it seems like it's something that happens gradually over time, where if they want to put reality itself, or real human beings, whatever that means, into their matrix, it's almost, to me, they would do it in a way that nobody would notice. They would do it over time. And this could be, I'm not going to turn this into a Mandela effect conversation because of the triggered. I would like to talk about it more, but there's still 10% start throwing dishes and things like that, and their mom's going to have to clean it up. So I won't talk about it. But the Mandela effect would agree. I think that that's what Mandela effects are. It's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, guys, but I know I'm resonating with many of you. Whatever the real world was, it probably never was that real, but it always some sort of fluid reality. Now they have a better the creeps have a better understanding of it, buttons and levers, and it's like they're trying to turn it into their type of matrix, their ideal matrix, where nobody notices. You just wake up and the world seems like what it was, but now you're like in a matrix and you didn't notice going in. And based on what I've said in the last two videos, I don't, Matt, you're helping that you're by having everybody imagine that you're no, let's imagine right now that it's failed. It's failed. And huge if huge holes in reality have to open up like the end of the Mandela Effect movie, fine. I don't think nobody here cares anymore. As long as we protect our own spiritual self, our own spiritual essence. So if huge, we know, I'm imagining right now that their process and their Ray Kurzweil process is going to fail. Put that in your mind and keep it in your mind all day long. So that how would it if it failed, Matt? How would it manifest? It would manifest with things like Joe Biden coming out to give a speech and forgetting to attach his head. Those sorts of things. Just picture that, and it'll glitch it out. Anyway, I don't know, but you see what I'm saying? It's not like one or the other. In Upload, the young, good-looking guy. I think it's called Upload. I don't know. The guy's consciousness goes into a computer simulation, a good-looking young guy with a good-looking girlfriend. She's like, I always want to be with you, and you're about to die, so sign this, and we can put you into a simulation. And for a week, it's great for a week. He's stuck in this computer for all eternity, right? For a week, it's great. He can still talk to his girlfriend. He can be with his girlfriend, and she's like, "Oh, I'm still with you." And then, like a week later, she's starting to blow him off. He's like, I forget how it went. I thought it was pretty bad. I only watched an episode and a half, or one episode and like 20 minutes after that or something like that. I don't know. His conscience can appear in like the mirror, whatever that workout mirror they have now, something like that, where your workout instructor can appear in the mirror. And he's like, where you going, hon? And I forget. She's like, well, you can't physically go out, so I got to go out. And then she starts to meet guys, and so he's decided to put his consciousness into a computer for all of eternity. And after like 7 days, she's bored with it, and he's regretting it because she needs to go and she's starting to date other men. And I mean, I don't know. It's pretty interesting. But see, that's an all or nothing. That's all of a sudden the consciousness knows it was in a quote real world, and then it knows it's in a matrix. Well, to me, they're doing it slowly. They're trying to do it slowly. It will fail. They're doing it slowly over time. This is to me what the Mandela effect is, and it's almost like at a certain point in the future, they've transitioned everybody over. And I think there are Star Trek episodes like this, or one of the Star Trek movies, one of the bad Star Trek movies where that I think it's the one where that guy keeps trying to graft skin onto his face. It is a Captain Picard, a Jean-Luc Picard movie, The Next Generation with Patrick Stewart, I believe. But they want this planet. I think if I'm remembering correctly, it has sort of a fountain of youth effect, and they're trying this evil force is like relocating the colonists. They're like, I don't know. They just carry water buckets. They're not technologically advanced. They're putting them into a different place. They're transporting them, but they don't know they're being transported. So they have these things called the holodeck in Star Trek, where it's exactly like being in. If you're in your room now, it's exactly like being in your room. You literally can't tell the difference. So they put these people in a holodeck, then they put them out in their new location, move them off the planet that this dark force wants. And they do it group by group, and it's slow transition. And the people wake up and they think they're on their home planet, and they're not. It's that sort of thing in some way. Now, if anybody's yelling at me, well, Matt, what possible mechanism or technology could slowly devolve a reality into their ideal matrix? I don't know. The hell am I supposed to know? Just get a sense as to how they do business. There's more reality breakdowns, more clown show reality. Mandela effects could be symptoms of it. We haven't seen huge Mandela effects recently. Nothing like that came between 2016 and 2018. Nothing was like that. That could be like they pulled levers in the Chernobyl center, like, oh, geez, look at this glitching out, look at that glitching out. Like, we need to we need to repair the underlying source code of what we're trying to pull off before we before we continue. There was a lull in the action, right? What do we do in the meantime? I don't know. Put forth another underwear bomber. So and then it was rushed because they had to. Of course, they have to do the next gig. That right at the 20-year cycle, they have to do the next gig. Remember what Basher said in. I'm gonna say it again in Ocean's 12, I guess. No, 13. Under he was trying to dig a hole or something under the Vegas hotel of Al Pacino. He's like, you don't do the maybe it was Ocean's 12. You don't do the old gig again. You run the new gig. That's a terrible imitation, a terrible British accent. But you don't do the old gig. You do the new gig. Matt Damon, did you get the mags? Um, yeah, I'm stuck under here in the tunnel. Did you get the mags? It must have been an old one. Everybody would have had a smartphone with 3 clicks to Pornhub at that point. But 1 click to Pornhub. Sorry. So, they don't. They're basically are doing the old gig again. Just it's just a different. It's the same wolf in a different sheep outfit. Um, in terms of what it's out to accomplish, this thing now, I really don't think it's any different from the other big thing. It just moves reality along towards their matrix and moves as many real people that don't want to take the red pill moves as many people along in their desired direction as well. So I don't have any more information, guys. I just, we all would agree that they want to turn reality into some sort of matrix or, all that talk about downloading consciousness. But if you really think about it and let your inner tuning fork go and inner knowing, do you believe what I'm saying that it's actually done very slowly and gradually where someday hopefully not us, we'll get out of here, but a certain group of people could wake up and be in the matrix and it evolves so slowly, they simply don't understand where they are in reference to what reality was. Do you believe me there, or do you believe it'll just happen all at once, like a flipping of a switch? And if it's not a flipping of a switch, then why wouldn't it be? I think that this is basically what they're trying to do now. Remember, remember the imagery of failure in terms of anything. We need to bring forth the imagery of failure instead of taking trying to organize pickup truck armies with complaint signs. Just remember to see it failing. That is probably in the end of the day more effective than organizing pickup truck armies of complaint signs and more marches. That doesn't do shit unless you can get 40 million people. In terms of little pocket groups, it doesn't mean shit. So let's close by just trying to analyze Lana's quote as long as it takes. Of course, she attributed to Keanu Reeves, which is ridiculous. Probably can't even tie his own shoes. Um, Now, everything with the Matrix movies is attributed to Lily and Lana Wachowski, whoever they were, which to me is ridiculous. They're just a front person or people or something this important to the creepy system. I mean, again, the fandom is all about, and I know, guys, I'm not going to get into the 2 or 3 other prominent people that say they did it and they wrote it in the lawsuits. I don't want to get into that. I typically don't bother with that for a few reasons. But something that's this important to maybe they somebody else did write it, but if it's this important, the concept is this important to the system, it's going to take it for its own. So, but it's all the fandom attributes the genius of it to Lily and Lana Wachowski, which I think is. I'm not saying they're not incredibly smart or how they executed the movie, but this came from the big man downstairs in terms of, I don't believe they might be those on the ground executing the movie. If that's not a good word, but you know what I mean. There's no the genius of it and the predictive nature of it. No way. It came. I'd be more apt to believe it came from off planet, whatever that. Oh, Matt, you're just stop with that. Okay, it came interdimensionally then. Sorry. Then it came from these one or two brothers and sisters. I don't buy it at all. Although, anyway, they're not certainly not stupid when you hear the interviews, but you know what I'm saying. So, but somebody like Lana Wachowski has probably been at a few creepy meetings, a few creepy table meetings, if not at the main table, like pulling up a chair behind, Jared served. But this person knows something, of course, and talking about the 20-year cycles, we see now how they are working very, very hard to bridge. When the 7-Eleven job application was submitted, it took 20 years for the 7-Eleven, the local 7-Eleven in North Philadelphia, to get back to the person on their submission. They're trying to bridge the events together, and I think I don't know why they do this. Again, I have no idea. This gets into real creepy stuff, and I don't understand. But we can see it in, like, the most notable to me is because I spent so much time on it, was the Sade video of, we know, I mean, it was so obvious it was an ode to what would happen in 2001. That Sade video, the creepy dancing up on the building towards, with arms raised towards the WT, the WB, we'll call it the WB, WBC. And then there was also the for those new here, let me just bring up to speed for 30 seconds. The Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building look like something now. They do. They they look like a shot in the arm. And what's that? Matt, that gigantic point on top is needed for FM signals. Oh, sure. I are you are this I've been listening to this guy make this presentation. Are you saying, Mr. Presenter, that they actually in 1920 something designed the Empire State Building because it looks like a syringe? That's something that would happen 100 years later? I wouldn't put it past them. I don't know that for sure. I know that's out there and strange. But the old guard listening, I guarantee every one of the old guard listening, people that have put in thousands of hours of research, would agree with me 100% that although that's out there, these creeps are capable of shit like that. Nothing surprises us anymore. If, if that, okay, again, I admit that's out there. Me in the last video talking about E equals MC squared. I threw it out there. It's out there, but it's maybe there's something to it. If there's potentially something to it, I'm going to keep presenting it. I'm not going to push all my chips there on these things and say I'm 100% sure and I'm willing to bet my entire reputation on it. I'm here to float potential big ideas, and one out of every few will hit on something big. Anybody here want me to play it safe? No. So, I mean, potentially they did need those big poles on the top of these buildings, and then the creeps are planning, not that far in advance, but then they're using the buildings in some way to bridge the dark magic of their reality presentation for 2001 to the creepy dark magic of today. They maybe use those buildings and then design. Go look at the logo for the One World Trade Center. The logo, the would be on the letterhead, for example. I mean, go look at the One World Trade Center. Just there it is. It's also, if you look at it from exactly on top of it, it's also a pyramid. It's pyramids intersecting each other from the air directly over top of it. I did a Google Maps or Google Images from the air, and years ago, and it was a part of it on top is an exact pyramid. However, I tried to recreate that about a year ago and go look at Google Images, and I could not get a direct view like it was changed, for example, from overhead. It doesn't really matter. Trust me. Directly overhead of one world um, is a pyramid. Okay, not exactly for all, but for a part of it, it is because it's two pyramids joined together. That's the creepy architecture. And then go look at the logo for it. I mean, it's a damn, you know what? It's a damn thump shot in the arm. It's what it is. It's a bridging of the two events. So if their power requires a bridging of events, then how does a group of people, you know, hinder the bridging of the events? Is there any way to if they're building bridges between the events in these ways that we're noticing, like there's lots of other ways, guys, besides the logo of the One World and the Sade video. There's other things that we don't even perceive, but you can see they're trying to bridge them together somehow. The Spike Lee thing in his documentary, he's talking about both events at once, and it's almost like, is it like chaining batteries together? Like the first battery has a lot of energy. Again, they put all their chips on the 2001, and then it's like chaining batteries together to start the last car down the line. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how that works, but you know what I mean? Maybe they're trying to tap into the original power from probably the first day of the new millennium to get the power up to here. I don't know. So I would think, as if that's the case, well, how do you stop the third car from starting? Can you cut the damn battery line off somehow? Um, and if you don't know, start through imagery. That's, who knows what we're capable of. I'm gonna keep going here. I don't just picture the damn battery line cut. And if we are onto anything, guys, this channel will not last. If there's anything to what I'm saying, um, it'll be free voice if we're lucky, all full time. If there's anything to what I'm saying here, you know, it'll be bye bye quantum of conscience. But whatever. It is what it is. All right, guys. Is there anything else to talk? She talked about the 20-year cycle. Yeah, let me pause it. I know there's more to talk about. Hold on. Heck, the good news. I forgot the good news. There was a fog that came over to me to not present the good news. That would have been terrible. Okay. Now, if there generally, the old guard, I know, agrees that generally, if I just say in a general way without giving you any specifics, generally, are they trying to devolve reality somehow into some sort of matrix? Without the old guard's agreeing with that. I know the old guard. Okay. Oh, these are the only, yeah. Why should we listen to them, Matt? Oh, I don't know. These are the people that just put thousands and thousands of hours into studying reality and have helped me shape my views as well. So generally, yeah, they're trying to devolve reality in some way. Okay. Now, if that's the case, here we go again. Here's the good news. Why are they working so hard to do that? Why are they working so hard to put real human beings in that state? So if it's layers, I don't know if you saw the movie, that disturbing movie, The Platform, but if it's layers, well, maybe the layer just above us is an escape. Who knows, but let's just keep it simple. The layer right above, transcending out of this 3D, attaching, finding your tether to your spiritual self, you can get out. One layer up is a way out. So maybe it's just like a buffer for them. Just throwing stuff out, guys. If they put a majority of real people into a lower level, a level of reality more closer to their pure hell or pure chaos, then it's like a buffer. It's like, oh, now we got them 2 layers away from getting out. See what I'm saying? And then if anybody's yelling at me, screaming at me from their bathtub, I can hear you. I can hear you. Well, Matt, why? Don't assume it's 3. You know, maybe they've devolved reality down in this 3D plane so many times, we could be many steps away from the escape room, potentially. I don't want that image to go out. How real people think of it. Just change the image. That, oh, think of it. Doesn't, all that's now gone. We're one little tiny step away from getting out. Put that imagery out there. Keep changing the imagery, if you see what I'm saying. Somebody sent me told me to go get the Dream of a Thousand Cats. I did, and I'm going to apply the damn lesson learned in the Dream of a Thousand Cats. I'll read that to you sometime. I got it in the mail the other day. The old comic book. Uh, the cat roaming around trying to talk to other cats, saying if I can get 1,000 cats to dream what I dream, the whole reality will change. The humans will serve us. So, again, if the Dream of a Thousand Cats is right, and it's an old what is it, DC comic. It's not superheroes or anything like that. If a Dream of a Thousand Cats is right about a cat's dreaming together to change reality, and then I'm gonna float those topics here again. This channel ain't gonna last very long. Like, get the Chernobyl control centers probably are already like red lights going off there now. Like, bah, bah, bah. We got, oh, look, there's an upload here outside Philadelphia. Oh, that pesky quantum of conscious again, like they said at the end of Scooby Doo. Scooby Doo, the biggest truth drop of all time. It was the same fakery every time. They just kept pulling masks off real people, but then the dumbasses, it's like the people around us, they kept going into the next mystery thinking the things were real. Well, the last 4,000 times, Fred or Velma or whatever the freak your names, whatever, he always went off with Daphne, or was it Daphne or whatever. Fred and who knows what was happening with those two. Scooby was stuck with Shaggy and the girl in the glasses and the sweater. Um, the the 1,000 times before they pulled the mask off and it was just somebody masquerading, but then the next one's a real ghost. So that's like a huge reality truth drop. Shows you how they'll pull the same gig over and over again, the same scam over and over again, and dumbass people fall for the same shit over and over again. But what the heck was I talking about? The good news. So if they're trying to move us down a reality layer, which would be down into the digital, the Elon Musk digital, the zeros and one digital, from the more natural or originally designed simulation, whatever. So we're real close to getting out now. But those that go, it's like a buffer zone for them, right? Those that go into the digital or wake up in a reality and are completely accepting the digital matrix and they don't know anything happened to reality. They're not trying to hold on to what they once were. Then they have a buffer. Oh, they're two huge leaps away from getting out. And maybe there are other leaps, but if we imagine per the Dream of a Thousand Cats, there aren't any, and we are, we'll live this life out as fully as we can and learn as much as we can. But after that, it's just, we've gotten ourselves where it's just a simple. We don't need to be no Houdini to get out of here. We've done the work and we just get out of here. So we also refuse to be put in the digital. That's why we've stepped onto the bank, onto the shore, and the where does the ship of fools on the ship of insanity sail? It sails down the river. We're on the bank waving the Pacific Princess goodbye. It's sailing down towards the digital zeros and ones reality. And then you get back to what was that creepy picture with Zuckerberg for? Him striding and laughing and smiling in front of all the people with their VR headsets on in that conference. They always have to, yes, it's part mockery, but they also have to show you that they're moving all of reality slowly into the digital, and people potentially will wake up and be in it, and nothing happened. They were Star Trek relocated to the new planet and then didn't notice, and things are a little different. People and we can the pickup truck army with the complaint signs ain't going to work. Maybe the imagery of the whole thing failing is much more powerful, and that's what I'm going to focus on.